All right, it's December, so you know what this means? Millions of people are going to be setting up New Year's resolutions to start on January 1st, and about 99% of them are going to fizzle out by January 4th. And it's not because people suck. It's not because people are lazy. It's because this stupid entire system of New Year's resolutions is completely broken. Completely. So, today, we're going to break this thing wide open. We're going to forget about this. This is stupid. We're going to talk about why resolutions fail and what actually works. Go figure. We're going to talk about why this year, your year, is going to explode when you figure out how to shift your identity by just 1%. 1%. We're going into 2026 with a brand new operating system. Screw resolutions. Forget that. Buckle up. Let's get going. All right, you with me? Here's what most people are going to do on January 1st. Take this. This is our friend Bob. Bob, on January 1st, he wakes up super hungover from the inevitable New Year's Eve party that he went to the night before. He woke up hungover, dehydrated, and he also suddenly declared, this year I'm waking up at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. Every day. Every day. 5 a.m., dude. So on January 1st, he woke up hungover and he got up at 8:30, which was on a Thursday. So he's already done with that already. So that resolution's out the door. It doesn't mean he can't pick it up the next day. Don't get me wrong. But you see, you're getting my point. This is the trap. People are setting these resolutions. And so if you keep telling yourself all of these things that you're going to do on January 1, but you haven't done it at all this year, you're going to change into a different person overnight in between December 31st and January 1, you're not going to do it. You're not. All right, so check this out. What has Bob been doing all year long? Bob all year long has been known as a night owl. He's been cool with it. You know, he's like, yeah, I'm a night owl. There's nothing wrong with being a night owl. I know plenty of people. They're on a structured schedule. It's just in a different time, if that makes any sense. You can still be a morning person, but your morning person be at 9 o'clock at night. We can get more into that later. Going to be tons of videos on that. But this guy right here, all year long, his identity has been night owl, right? So starting January 1, whenever he gets up, right, and every time that he slams snooze, there's a vote for night owl. Every time Bob stays up till 2 in the morning, scrolling on Instagram and TikTok, watching those next 4 videos on Netflix. Another thing that's super duper relate that has nothing to do with Bob's main goals in life. Just keeps adding up and adding up and adding up. What do you think's going to win? He's not going to get up at 5 in the morning because he is that. You've spent years telling your brain that you're not a morning person, right? So you can't just you can't be a night owl and try to do actions of a morning person and expect anything different. You've got to change who you are, not what you want to do. Hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this is hitting somebody. Check this out. Bob is trying to fight years of identity with 48 hours of motivation. Motivation's crap, by the way, too. We'll get into that in a later video as well. I am fired up wrapping up this year and going into the next because I'm just so sick of people not being able to change their lives in a real meaningful way. We just have all of this crap fed to us that tells us if we do this and that we're going to be happy if we just conform to this world. Nobody steps out and thinks for themselves and thinks, hey, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? How can I take control of my day and be in charge of me instead of just being like, yeah, I'm going to lose 15 pounds next year. And then like you've had, you eat pizza 4 times a week this year. Bro, I got bad news for you. You're not losing anything. You're probably going to gain weight. Sorry to be that guy, but I'm just being real. I'm saying that because I love you. I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm here to make your life better, right? So let's keep going. And willpower is cool, but man, it is so hard to build up as well. So willpower, don't bank on that either. You got to change who you are. You got to become a person where willpower is default. You can't be who you are right now and be like, I'm going to build up some willpower. You're not. No, you're not. You're not going to. Not going to happen. And so let's just go ahead and just move on. I just want you to keep this in your mind that willpower is going to die faster than that new gym membership in January. I know you're thinking about one. You obviously are. And you can definitely join it, but you're going to go into it with a different perspective by the time you get there. I assure you of that. Let's move on. All right, I'm going to show you what actually works here. Hang on just a second. This right here is everything. You've got to stop chasing after an identity that you haven't earned yet. You've got to develop these habits. You've got to. And it doesn't take long. All right, let's break this down a little bit further. Let's look at the differences between resolutions and identities. Check this out. All right, you see this right here? Resolution versus identity. Let's talk about some stuff here. Here's a resolution. I want to wake up at 5 a.m. Okay, that's a resolution, right? I want to exercise more. Okay, let's do one more. I want to be more productive. I want to be productive. All right, I want to wake up at 5 a.m., I want to exercise more, and I want to be productive. They're pretty noble things, right? None of those things are going to happen. We're going to break out the big guns for the identity section. Okay, so we've talked about resolutions. All right, check this out. I am a morning person. I am a morning person. A lot more powerful. How about this one? I am an athlete. See that? See the difference? How about, instead of I want to be productive, I am someone who shows up. I'm someone who shows up. That's powerful. Some of y'all are getting this. Some of this is going to change the way that you launch into 2026. Let me ask you something, people that are feeling stuck and where you're at right now. Let me ask you something. Do you set New Year's resolutions every single year? I'm betting you do, and I used to be that guy too. But you know what? Whenever you switch from resolutions to identity, it makes a complete, massive difference. To me, resolutions, what you're saying is, here's the stuff that I wasn't strong enough to do this year that somehow I'm going to be next year. It doesn't make any sense, and we trick ourselves into doing this, okay? I'm fired up about this. And so this right here, when you figure that out, that's going to change your life. That's going to change the trajectory of your life completely. Not the calendar, not the hype, not the fireworks, like the day one thing, whatever, because good luck, you're not going to make it past day 4 if you keep doing everything that you've been doing, and then you're going to be shocked by the 3rd week of January. You're just going to be like, oh, this sucks. I hate it because at the beginning of the year, the gym is so ridiculously packed that you can't get in there, and you're just waiting for that 3rd week of January when the new memberships tend to kind of like dwindle out. It's a running joke every single year. The people just go in there. The gyms love this because they're going to get an influx of tons of people that are going to join and then go for 5 days. So it's the best recurring revenue, and it's super hard to quit. Trust me. Man, I went off on a tangent there, but here is my point. My point is this becomes a heck of a lot easier when you just decide that this is who you are. I am a morning person. I am a rock star in my ministry, following where God is leading me and having me what to do and following His will and blessing other people and other families. I am a person that takes things that I've learned and has my life experiences and wants to give them to other people so hopefully their life can be just a little bit better. I am a morning person. That is absolutely for sure. I've turned into one of those in the course of my life, and I love that. I have a ton of identity statements, and did you notice what I start every single one of these out with? I am. You are declaring. Nobody else can say the word I as it refers to you except for you. Does that make sense? So if I say I am a morning person and somebody says Brian is a night owl, that is false. Now, whether I stay up late and I say that I'm a morning person and I'm actually not, who I say that I am is who I say that I am. Who you say that I am is none of my business. And it makes no difference on my plane of reality. Does that make sense? In other words, if it's real to you, it's real for real. That is what I'm saying. You gotta operate out of this powerful identity, okay? So we're gonna look at another little guy just really, really quick on the whiteboard here. Bear with me, all right? Stand by. We're gonna make this boy blue. Hold up. That is supposed to be a guy with a cape. That does not look like a guy with a cape. But imagine that that is a guy with a cape. He's a hero, okay? So we're going to talk about this little thing, this little filter. We're going to dive into this in other videos. This is so fascinating. But it's called the Reticular Activating System. We call that the RAS for short, because I am in IT and we make acronyms out of absolutely everything. But the Reticular Activating System. And so what is that? What is the whole job of that? And we all have one. It's up here, whether you've heard of it or not. It is to find proof what you believe about yourself. For example, if I say white dog, white dog, white dog, white dog to you, for the next hour, couple hours probably, you're going to have a white dog in your head, and I promise you, if there's a white dog anywhere near, your brain's going to find it. All right, so that goes with absolutely anything in the world. So, you say that you're a morning person, right? Okay. You wake up early once, that's a vote. You make a list in the morning of the things that you got to do so that you're well prepared. You get to work, not scrambling, not grabbing coffee, not getting to work around 8:40. On your way to work, you already know your game plan, how you're going to attack, and how you're way ahead of anybody that could possibly even try to compete with you. That's being a morning person, wouldn't you say? That's 2. You see my point? The more votes that you get, the more muscle memory that you get. And if you're starting from 0, you're going to feel like that this is huge, but it's not. I'm telling you, you give this 2 or 3 days of stacking this on top of each other, and you're going to see this 1% difference. That's what I'm obsessed with, 1% difference. Because if you start stacking up 1% on 1% on 1%, that's not 3%. That starts getting massive. That's not addition. That becomes multiplication, and it'll blow your mind. And so just to reiterate, that's how these habits are born. You just keep popping them, popping them, popping them, keep adding up, adding up, adding up, adding up. And before long, you keep telling yourself this new identity. I know you're going to feel like you're lying to yourself whenever you're doing these identity statements. You kind of are, but not really, because your subconscious does not know the difference between reality and non-reality. It is fully convinced of whatever you tell it, whatever you convince it of. In other words, imagination is your friend. So whenever you're doing these identity statements and you're going out, the only thing that you're capped by is your own imagination. This can be whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You are an athlete? That's great. I'm in the middle of a program right now that I'm going to be doing some videos on here in about the next 3 weeks. I don't want to talk about it yet, but it's really exciting. And it has to do with exercise. And part of my 3 goals and part of my identity is definitely fitness related. And I'm sure that yours is too. Most people's are. So identities are going to form from micro moves into micro wins into macro transformation, baby, all the way, explosion. New life, new game, new you, let's go. All right, so we're going to move into the 1% identity framework. This is what I'm going to be harping on, and if you follow me and you watch any of my videos, if you take a shot every time that you hear me say 1%, you're going to be blasted. You're going to be blasted quick. Let's get after it. All right, so this 1% identity framework, what is it? Step 1, you're going to choose an identity, okay? Not a goal, an identity, who you are. By now, you should know the difference on this. Remember, not that I want to wake up early. You want to say, I am a morning person. That's who I am. I am a morning person. Now in step 2, I want you to find the tiniest proof. Put that RAS to work, okay? What does a morning person do that takes like 3 seconds maybe? And not the obvious, don't say go pee. Everybody has to pee. You'd be the laziest person in the world, you're gonna pee. How about, depending on what time that you get up, how about open the blinds? How about read a chapter out of the Bible? I like reading Proverbs, 31 chapters in Proverbs, 31 days in a month. You see where I'm going. How about watching a 30-second motivational video instead of opening up your TikTok, see how many likes that you got overnight that don't matter. Maybe you can step outside for 60 seconds. I'll tell you this, I get up at 4 in the morning most mornings, and there is nothing more exhilarating in December in the Midwest than stepping out on your front porch for 5 seconds as soon as you wake up. That'll get you going. Maybe that's something that you do to become a morning person, right? Whatever that is, I want you to find it. I want you to write it down for yourself on your own list, and I want you to circle it. And I want you to circle it, and I want you to circle it, and I want you to say it over and over. Not obsessively, like don't make it the only thing to just say, don't go crazy, like don't have your spouse wondering what's going on with you. You know, talk to them about this obviously, but you know, don't get too obsessed about it. But this is your 1% shift. This is the 1% that I'm talking about, okay? I want you to find something that you're wanting to do in January. You're making resolutions anyway. So take that resolution, make it an identity statement, and follow me. If it feels tiny, perfect. If it feels stupid, that's even better actually. And if it feels too small to fail, we just did it. If it feels too small to fail, you're not going to fail, and you're going to take these little itty bitty steps. It's going to build up your confidence and your momentum and start adding these tally marks to this identity that you're wanting to become. You do it once, you know what you're doing, you're shifting. That's not mystical, that's not magical. You're thinking on a different level, you're thinking on a different plane. Your thoughts are higher than they were yesterday. That's 1% better. You do it 3 days in a row, research does show us that your circadian rhythm starts catching up and actually starts adapting to that. And then guess what happens? After 3 days, after that happens, once that starts kicking into effect, check this out. So in other words, in 3 days, your momentum activated. You're off to the races. 3 days. No joke. Step 4, you compound the identity. You do it again. You do these small things again. Do they seem boring? Yeah. Is being successful boring? Nope. So just keep doing that. Boring will equal success. I know that it sucks. Unless you win Powerball or unless your uncle's a trillionaire, you're kind of out of luck on this, or unless you're trust fund baby, or you just get everything handed to you, which we all know people like that. So by and large, you're gonna have to go after this yourself. And it's not hard when you start thinking outside of the box in ways that other people don't, all right? Then after 1 week, you add another move. Say you're trying to become a morning person. You add another gangster move. Then the next week, you add another. Then you add another. Then before you're a guy that gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, is prepared for the day, and has already done more before 7 a.m. than most people do before lunch. And that's just who you are. It becomes natural. It becomes as common as most people tying their shoes, because your identity is who you are. I am an IT manager. I'm going to work tomorrow. I'm going to do IT things. That is who I am, right? So this is going to become part of who you are. And you can do it. It doesn't matter what it is. This doesn't have to be huge. You take it, you turn it into an identity statement, and you set it up in tiny, small, little microscopic chunks for real. Listen, man, when you set a resolution, you're setting a finish line that you're just not ready for. You're not ready for it. If you were ready for it, you'd have done it already. Why are you waiting a month to go do something if you're ready for it now? That's stupid. We live in a microwave society. If you wanted something right now, you would get it. What you're doing is you're tricking your brain into saying, that sounds really hard and I kind of don't want to do it till next month. That's what you're doing. And then you know what's going to happen? Next month's going to come and you're not going to do it. You're just not. And so we are just absolutely going to say, screw that guy. We are done with resolutions. The last New Year's resolutions that you ever did was last year. You're finished with them. You're going to change who you are. People are going to be blown away 2 months from now when they see you and they see somebody that's completely different, all because you changed 1% thing different to put yourself towards who you want to be. Can you see how easy this is to shift and to do it if you just think differently? Different perspective. And remember, just keep casting those votes, okay? Every single day with every single little thing. If you sleep in one day, you didn't lose your identity because you slept in one day. You're probably going to feel terrible about it, and you're going to double down and go back after the next day. You want to know why? Because that's who you are. And who is that? You're a morning person. That is who you are. That is your new identity. You're not a night owl anymore. And I'm not pushing the morning stuff hard on purpose. This can be any identity that you want to come up with. I use that because I used it and it worked. Do not wait for January. If you're serious about your life, if you want 2026 to hit different, choose the identity today, right now. Why are you waiting for January 1? Today, right now. You're watching this video for some reason. Go get it right now, at this second. Pause this video. Cast your first 1% vote today, and you're going to be miles ahead of everybody else on this planet. Because by and large, nobody else is doing that. You are one micro move away from being a completely different person next year. Do you understand that? Stop setting resolutions that are going to expire in the second week of January. Start becoming the person who never needs resolutions again. Let's go, y'all.